Hello, YouTube. Just so you know, this voiceover is probably going to be really shaky because I am sick as a dog right now, and I don't know where that phrase comes from because, honestly, my dogs don't get sick that often. So I don't know where that comes from. However, we are coming up on the end of Pride Month, and I have been thinking a lot about how I want to show pride and how I want to deal with pride on my channel and whether or not I want to address it, because I did once address pride, and it was a video. It was a thing that I did, and nothing really came of it. I was incredibly vague in that video. I left in a lot of hints and inside jokes and puns because I thought it was fun and dangerous, but I didn't actually say what my sexual orientation is. I didn't say what my sexuality is, and there was a really good reason for that. There was someone in my life who I knew would not accept me for who I am, and who I knew would disown me. And I say who I knew because it has actually happened earlier this month, actually. So I was disowned, and honestly, that's okay. I'm okay. I am. I don't want to talk about it because it's a really complicated situation, and it's personal, and it has a lot to do with my family and people that I don't want to share their stories on my channel. But that was one of the things that was kind of a crux, is me talking openly about sexuality and about pride and about homophobia, and that was something that lost me someone that I care about. And I was incredibly vague previously when talking about pride for just that reason, because I knew that when push came to shove, I was not going to be accepted for who I was. Wow. It's really kind of freaking sad. But I have come to terms with what happened because I kind of saw it coming. And I'm okay. I accept myself fully for who I am, and I'm not going to try to change to fit someone else and what they want me to be. So with that said, I'm going to be very open and honest, and I'm going to tell you guys that I am bisexual. And originally I was going to make a huge deal out of it and make jokes and talk about it, but honestly, it's not something that I want to joke about, because it wasn't an easy thing for me to come to understand. So I'm not going to do a whole super dramatic coming out video, but I do want to kind of briefly talk a little bit about kind of how I got to be where I am now, because I spent a lot of time really confused. I always kind of felt different, I guess you could say. I always thought to myself, what if I had a crush on this girl? It was usually girls in my class or girls that I would hang out with, and I would think to myself, I really like her. And I would think, is this a crush? And then I would say, no, because girls have crushes on boys. And I had crushes on boys, so surely that meant that I was not going to crush on girls, because girls don't do that. And I didn't understand for a long time that did happen. And that's not really a fault of anyone, it's just that I was a kid and I wasn't exposed to it a lot. I was exposed to it a little bit because one of my brother's friends had 2 moms, and that was cool. My family didn't really like them because one of them was a little bit rude. But that was kind of my first major introduction into sexuality as a whole, and I realized maybe there's something a little different about me. But I didn't think about it that much. It didn't really bother me because it wasn't like I was planning on dating anyone, because I thought dating in elementary school and middle school was just stupid, to be honest with you. I still kind of think it's dumb, because what are you really doing except holding hands by the slide? And that's not really dating, that's just hanging out with your friend. That's really all it is when you're young. And I say that as someone who's never been on a date in her life, so correct me if I'm wrong. It wasn't until later that I started to wonder if maybe that was something about me that was different. It actually wasn't until high school, because at that point, people around me started kind of figuring themselves out and identifying and saying, oh, I'm this and I'm that, and one of my friends was a lesbian, and one of them was super gay, and one of them was bi, and another one of them was pan, and it was like this amazing cluster of LGBT people that I just kind of stumbled into in high school. And I don't know what it is, but I think we have a radar. Like, I think people who are LGBT have a freaking radar, because we tend to just cluster to each other and find out, like, years down the line, oh my gosh, you were gay too. Like, you were queer as heck. It wasn't for a long time that I kind of realized a bunch of my friends ended up being, like, queer in some way, and it was amazing. I sort of flirted with the idea of being bi, because I knew that I liked guys, but I also knew that I kind of had feelings for girls. At this point, I had never had any serious or long-lasting feelings for anyone, so it really wasn't a huge deal to me, but I wanted to know, I wanted to understand myself, and I wanted to have the answers. I remember I kind of brought the idea up to my mom. I said, I kind of wonder if maybe I'm bi. And my mom was really skeptical and told me that it was probably just because I was going into high school and people were experimenting with their sexuality, and it more than likely had nothing to do with my actual sexuality, and that I was probably just trying to fit in because that was what was in right now. I kind of believed her at first. Now, I'm not mad at my mom in any way for saying what she said, because she had a point. I didn't understand for myself if it was just a phase or just a fad, and it wasn't until later that I kind of realized that I'd been doing it all my life. When I was originally in high school, I kind of thought that this was new and exciting and different, and it wasn't until my sophomore or junior year that I really looked back and realized, wow, actually, I think I felt like this for a long time. But I don't know, I guess I thought that all girls liked other girls. And this was something that was put really excellently, actually, by Dodie Clark. Dodie Clark has a couple of different videos on her sexuality, and a couple of different, like, pseudo-coming out videos. Dodie talking about her sexuality initially was really great for me, because I really, really related to that state of initial confusion that she had. Initially, it wasn't like, oh, I'm bi and I've totally figured this all out and it's great. Originally, it was, I don't really know, I'll probably end up with a guy. It's fine. And that was how I felt. I felt, I'll probably end up with a guy anyway, and it won't matter, and then I'll be straight, and that's what straight is. And it wasn't until actually kind of around the same time that Dodie released her official coming out video in 2016, May of 2016. I literally have the video pulled up in front of me. It wasn't until that point that I really came full circle and realized, yeah, this is who I am now. And not just who I am now. This is who I've always been. And it was never something I chose. It was never something I wanted, per se. But it was never something I hated about myself. Until later. There is someone in my life, as I mentioned, who doesn't support LGBT people. And the first time I really realized that, it was heartbreaking. because all of a sudden I felt like I was under attack in my own house. But I didn't know how to say that because no one in my family really knew. I mean, I kind of started maybe suggesting it here and there, but I was very shy and very uncertain because I didn't know if my mom would be okay with it or if my dad would be okay with it. I figured my brother probably would, but I didn't want to tell him in case he told them, and I was so nervous all the time. And I started to wonder if maybe I was a freak, if maybe people didn't want me. It was really, really hard. I can't explain to you how deeply I struggled with wanting to tell people and wanting to be proud and seeing people going to pride parades and my friend coming out as bi and then as trans and getting initial pushback and then just this wonderful acceptance from her family. And watching all of that happen, I couldn't help but feel kind of jealous, because that was all I really wanted. I wanted to be open about who I am and not to feel uncomfortable. I wanted to feel the way that I did when I closed my bedroom door and watched coming out videos. I wanted to feel like that all the time. Proud to be who I am and excited. I actually came out to my mom in the parking lot of a Wiener Schnitzel food establishment, and if you don't know what that is, Google it. It was kind of strange because what had initially happened is that my mom had taken me to a doctor's appointment, and the doctors had said something like, hey mom, can you step out for this portion of the questions? They might be a little private. And I'm like, there's literally nothing that my mother does not know about me. And it wasn't until later in the car that I realized that was kind of a lie. And my mom was like, it's kind of funny that they always ask me to step out of the room because it's not like there's anything you haven't told me. And I don't know what came over me. I don't know what kind of bravery I suddenly possessed. But I said to her, there is one thing, but I don't tell you not because I don't want you to know, but because I'm worried about what people around us will think, what the person that doesn't support me would think. And I don't want to put you in a position where you have to figure out how to reconcile loving me and loving them. And I was very uncomfortable with putting my family in that position. My mother kind of prodded a little, and she's like, no, you're gonna tell me. You're gonna tell me everything right now. You can't, suggest that you have a secret and then not tell me what the secret is. I'm gonna know. And she's very insistent. And I just told her. And I don't think she really, truly believed me at first. But over time, she's come around, and it's gotten to the point where I can say, yeah, well, I'm half gay, and my mom will just laugh, and she'll just smile, and she's happy to let me be me. And I'm so happy for that. She told my dad. My dad and I haven't directly talked about it, but we talk about girls that we find attractive, and I mention guys that I find attractive, and we have pretty openly, your daughter is bi conversations. So I know that he supports me too. I just know that he doesn't really like to have super serious conversations, so we don't. I kind of casually name-dropped it to my brothers, my biological brother and then my foster brother, and they were just kind of like, yeah, okay, cool, and went back to their video games, so safe to assume they're fine. And I've pretty much come out to all my friends, and I've taken to not being so secretive about it when people talk to me. If people mention their boyfriends or girlfriends, and I'm not gonna gender code my words anymore. So if someone's like, oh, have you ever been on a date? Then I'll just be like, yeah, I haven't really found anyone that I want to date yet. I mean, I haven't found any guys or girls that were really interested in me and I was interested in them, and that's really all it is. And sometimes I don't even go that deep. I'm just me, and I don't pause to question or stop to explain. And for the most part, I found such amazing acceptance. I actually found a friend of mine who I found out after 2 years of knowing her, she's also bi, which again, freaking radar, I'm telling you guys. And it was incredible because we talked about just figuring out how to pair our own religion with our sexuality, and we had a very open and honest conversation about finding a church that's accepting and finding churches with people who are tolerant and kind and wonderful and openly support us. And we talked about that for a while, and it was just nice to not have to feel like I'm hiding who I am, because I'm proud of who I am, and everyone should be too. So as Pride Month comes to a close, I just want to say I'm bisexual, and for the first time, I am able to say I'm proud. I'm proud of who I am, I'm proud of how I feel, and I'm so proud and privileged to live where I live, because it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. Thank you.